Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of RenewX. We had an electrifying day, the first day. Today would be far more better. We're looking forward for the support of the industry, and I welcome all of you to the conference arena for the first session of the day, which is role of solar, energy storage, green hydrogen, and energy transformation of India.
The second day of RenewX.
The session objective being to bring together key stakeholders from the renewable energy sector to discuss and deliberate on the role of energy, green hydrogen, solar,
to the
and transformation of India.
the first session
Potential of synergistic growth of solar and green hydrogen. Together we are stronger. It's the responsibility of industry leaders to pave the way to successful collaboration across the renewable energy sector. May I please welcome on the stage our moderator, Mr. Bhagyatesh Reddy, Director PwC. May I please welcome on the stage Mr. Chiranjeev Saluja, Managing Director, Premier Energies. Mr. Manish Narula, Executive Vice President, South Asia, Jinko Solar. Mr. Vivek, Head India, DG Business Unit, Lanji Solar. Check.
Hello. Okay, good morning all. Thanks Informa Markets team to organize this and invite me for being the moderator here. Hi, good morning again. So a bit of a background to this session. This will be a session where we will try to focus on what's happening on the solar sector, energy storage, and to an extent on green hydrogen that's happening in the country. And to give a bit of a macro overview on this, solar capacity, as you know, has been growing leaps and bounds in the country for the last 5-6 years. We have touched close to 65 gigawatts of operational capacity in the country. Wind had a good run over the last 25-30 years, and while it's going a little slower than solar, it has clocked more than 45 gigawatts over the last financial year. Then comes the storage part of it, which is being complementary, has picked up with a slew of tenders over the last year, wherein we see probably the world's largest solar storage tender of about a gigawatt hour in Rajasthan, conducted by SECI, and had a good participation. That was followed by more tenders, which incidentally were won by pumped storage suppliers. So then coming to the hydrogen part of it, we have seen a slew of MOUs being signed, pilots being put up, auctions being conducted. So with this as a backdrop, today's discussion will be on what needs to be done, what can be done over the medium term in India in this context. So maybe before we start the session, I'll request my panelists to briefly speak about their background and what their company does. Saluja sir.
Thank you. So I'm Chiranjeev Saluja, Managing Director of Premier Energies. Premier Energies is a 28-year-old company into manufacturing of solar cells and modules. We are based out of Hyderabad, and present capacity of our line is about 2 gigawatt per annum cell manufacturing and 3 gigawatt module manufacturing. I give it to Manish.
Yeah, hi, good morning everyone. I'm Manish Narula. I'm representing Jinko Solar, and Jinko Solar is a Shanghai-based solar module manufacturing company. They are in operations for more than 10 years now, and they are present in India also for last 8 years. Our capacities are approximately 50 gigawatts of annual production, across 7 or 8 plants that we have in China, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the United States. In India, we have been doing business primarily in solar module supplies, and from this year, we have also launched energy storage devices as well. And we hope to see good interaction with the audience and panelists in future. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Vivek, heading distribution business for Longi Solar. Longi Solar is like it's a Chinese-based module manufacturer. We are the world's leading manufacturer, starting from ingots to modules. Currently, our production capacity is close to 70 gigawatt. And in India, we are present for the past 5 years, and close to 9 gigawatt of modules we have supplied until now. So, looking forward to this discussion.
So, thanks Vivek, Manish and Saluja sir. So, if you see, so earlier this month, or I think a couple of weeks back, MNRE has notified that there will be a tenders close to about 50 gigawatt conducted, and the timelines for it and the agencies over the next 1 year. So that's the immediate opportunity, and that constitutes both solar, wind, and solar hybrid projects as well. So maybe to start the session, have a little warm up. No, how do you see that panning out? No, do you see the market opportunity of 50 gigawatts good enough? Will we be able to achieve? No, what do you think are the broad challenges? Maybe I'll start with Saluja sir.
Yeah, so I think the targets which MNRE has announced seem really high now, but looks like we will achieve it, because if you look at the past, when the initial solar mission was announced, it looked very difficult that we would achieve that first 100 gigawatt, right? But the way we are seeing the role of solar in the industry, it's rapidly growing, not only in India but across the world. And the focus on solar now in India, in the entire sector, that is just not IPPs, CNI, but also in manufacturing, is looking very, very focused. So you've seen the great success in the PLI program of the Government of India. The response was quite decent. I mean, our forecast, or I mean, my idea is that within the next 24 months, you would see India surpassing module manufacturing to about 100 gigawatt in manufacturing capacity in India, and that too with the latest technology equipments. India is now catching up with the Chinese large manufacturers like Longi and Jinko in terms of the technology. Yeah, so I feel quite positive about this target.
So maybe Manish and Vivek, from a supplier of repute and who have been in this space in India for a while, how do you see that panning out? A second, I mean, a sub-question to that is, do you think the prices discovered in the tariff-based bidding would be sustainable with the changes in, say, polysilicon prices? How do you see that, in terms of bids versus this?
Yeah, so thanks for this question. Yes, this is a very great initiative by MNRE, because, there has been a demand by the investors and by the stakeholders to give a longer outlook of the market, how it is panning out. So earlier, it was based upon certain approvals by cabinet minister or others, that they used to announce certain tenders, whether it is by SECI or NTPC or other agencies. But this is a very bold step, I would say. This will go in line with investors and stakeholders' expectations, that India has given this kind of a roadmap for bidding in the first place. Of course, it has to be topped up with several other infrastructure support, what is needed in the country in terms of transmission lines and, the land availability and several other factors. But yes, at least this is announced, so we know other things will fall in place. And coming to this announcement, even before that, this announcement is 50 gigawatt per annum, but even before that, there's a backlog of approximately 20 gigawatts of projects, which are in various stage of development. PPAs have been signed or in the process of signing, and these are going through various stage of development. So looking at the backlog as well as this announcement, I think we see a very promising forecast for India in terms of supplying solar modules. And as Mr. Saluja said, India is itself going for its own manufacturing, capabilities. competing with, global players. So it will offer a very neutral playground for the developers to pick up all the new technologies, within the country. Because so far, what we have seen in the country, people were late adopting the technologies. But with the announcements as well as with the thrust on the Make in India initiatives as well as in PLI, we will see that, people will be spoiled for choices, for technology within the country now. And in terms of the price trend, definitely this will lead to a competitive price trend. Because initially all the new manufacturing units would need to find a place, find a reference in the Indian market in technology. So they will try to offer as competitive and as high quality products as possible. So I'm sure exciting times are ahead through this. Thank you.
Good to know your views. No, Vivek, maybe can you chime in? No, how does Longi see the whole opportunity per se in India? And
Of course, like as you have mentioned about this ambitious targets and everything, I just want to quickly touch upon the segment which I represent more on this C&I and rooftop
no,
segments.
in fact, I have a point to add. So, in fact, yesterday, the ex-energy secretary of Telangana was saying, while India had ambitious 100 gigawatt plan, we have achieved all of it except one, which is the rooftop solar of 40 gigawatt. So, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
On your-
So, if going forward in achieving this ambitious target, what we really feel is that rooftop solar is going to play a huge role in that because that's an untapped market and it's a huge potential as well. So right now this rooftop market is majorly dominated or contributed by C&I segments, and in coming days rooftop residential rooftop also will pick up. So going forward is like a lot of C&I players now they are adopting because they have seen the benefits of adopting to rooftop solar. So with the latest technology and everything, we see there is a bright future. And also the price trends are coming down using the latest technologies and the higher watt peak modules or whatever is available right now. So we feel positive about the ambitious targets.
So I think you and both Vivek did mention about the technology advances. So can you throw in a little more light on that in terms of efficiencies for laymen's or the choice of technologies? I mean, what's happening in China, for instance, and HJT or TopCon? Which ones are the more preferred ones? And importantly, on cell size, wafer size, etc. So over to you, Vivek and Manish, to share your thoughts on how the technology is evolving on the solar manufacturing front.
So like solar technology is where technological shift is happening very fast. Like I guess 2-3 years back, no one would have thought that poly will be reduced to a market share of less than 10% or 15%. But this has happened now. Now mono PERC technology is dominating. In mono PERC, like comparing to last year, now bifacial technologies are dominating. Even we have seen a trend that people are adopting bifacial modules for rooftop technologies, rooftop projects. So right now the trend in China is like a lot of companies, like bigger companies like be it Jinko, Longi and all the other companies, they are placing their bets on the new technologies like N-type TopCon and also HJT, and they are coming up with new technologies on back contact as well. So looking forward, like we'll be getting modules with higher efficiencies of 22.8 or 23% or even more than that. So these are the technological shift happening, and when it comes to cells, it's like there is a technological war which is between 182 mm versus 210 mm modules. So in that right now, people are adopting more on 182 mm based wafers because of its smaller size and its lower current rating. So these are the current trends which are going on in the market.
Manish.
Yeah, so I just want to add up that India, we have seen that is a follower of technology. Whatever is, designed and developed by other countries, whether it is Western countries or, Chinese players. India has always seen a late adoption of technologies. And if we look, behind 5 years, when polycrystalline was very popular, Chinese have, come up with mono PERC. Even Longi was the first one to come up with mono PERC, and they had their own reference sites, and which was proven. And then people started adopting in China as well as in US. And then there was a trend, there was a enhancement of the capacities based upon that success, and India started adopting mono-PERC. Similar was the case when there was a launch of bifacial modules. India was late in adopting it, but successfully India has adopted because India find a value in it. Similarly, I think we would see that the adoption of TOPCon technologies or even HJT technologies, presently these are in demand. In fact, I would like to put it on record that Jinko at present has converted its lines approximately 50% capacities on TOPCon. So out of our 50 gigawatt of annual capacity, almost 25 gigawatt has already been converted to TOPCon, which means we see a game changing very soon. And those who are late in adopting also will follow suit. And due to their demand, we will convert 100% very soon in these technologies. In China, I have also seen many other competitors have their reference sites for HJT technologies now. Which means once they show a proof of concept of that technologies, they will offer it to Western world, who are one of the first, quick adopting, in the technology side, because they can pay a price also. Because initially, any new technology is costly. So those Western worlds have a playground to, pick up and pay the price for that, and then the rest of the world follows. But I would request that, Indians should not wait for new technology expansion or adoption. Rather than that, jump to quickly adopt those technologies and to stay competitive in the world. If we are, always followers, we remain followers in spite of the announcements by government of all these PLI schemes or of these bidding, announcements, then we will always remain a follower. So we should not wait and jump to reach maybe what is in offer in the future in next 1 or 2 years. We should look at, picking up those machineries, those kind of technologies, use it in our labs, maybe improvise it a little bit, but should look at the future of technology rather than just being a followers. Thank you.
That's a good point, Manish. So in fact, the whole concept behind PLI, not just for solar, for other industries as well, 13 other industries, is the leap in technology that the government is pushing for. And specific to solar PLI, you would have noticed that the incentive is pegged to the conversion efficiency that we are showing up. So in a way, I think the plan is there. It's about, intent is there, but it's about, implementation part of it. I agree with you totally on that. So back to Saluja sir, while these technology changes are happening, I have two questions. Question is on two folds. One, how do you see as Indian manufacturer, how are you adapting or how quickly can we adapt this in Indian context, more from a manufacturing standpoint, and the second is on from a EPC standpoint. So when I say EPC standpoint, if you have a bigger module size, so people are talking about 635, 700 plus, which comes with a problem of installation. We are used to labor-intensive installation process. So how do you see that? One from a manufacturing, second from EPCs.
Sure. Yeah. So coming to the technology, Bhagitej, what we are seeing is that Indian large manufacturers are now very quick in adopting new technology. If I talk about Premier, we were the first ones to launch the 182 millimeter mono-PERC cells in India. The first country to make the cells, first company. And then in terms of TOPCon coming, we are already discussing and implementing our plans for implementing TOPCon within the next 12 months. So which means that it is a challenge. So it's not just about technology. What we need to really look at this whole solar, role of solar and transformation which we are talking about. The biggest challenge which we have in India is that supply chain, which is a big challenge because we are not looking at the whole solar sector or even the green hydrogen if you talk about. It's very easy to set up evaporator manufacturing, but then there's something else which goes into even making the evaporators. So what happens is that if you look at what China has done, which no other country in the world has done, is they've created an entire supply chain. So which really helps them to scale up.
Maybe a little question here. In fact, again, going back to the PLI, there is a local value addition component as well.
Sure.
While I'll not say that's an incentivizing principle, but somewhere it is getting baked in. What it means is it is pushed onto manufacturers like you to create a supply chain for yourself. And I believe this is where the things are a little different from Chinese way of doing things.
Yes, yes, I agree with you, but then still, if you look at that push of PLI, I mean, we still don't have scale. If you just heard what Manish said and what the Longi team said, Jinko manufacturing is 50 gigawatt. Longi is like 70 gigawatt, right? Our entire PLI is 50, 60 gigawatt. So we are not still there. We need scale. And every time it's easy to say why Indian modules are expensive is because of scale. And we need to think big. We need to have the entire supply chain in place, glass manufacturing. I mean, today everything is imported, you know, except EVA, which is there now. But yes, we are on the right track. We need to speed up. We need to speed up. We are running out of time. If you go back when Premier started in 1995, there was no manufacturing of solar in China. The largest of the largest companies in China started in 2001, 2002. I know few people who are now in the US working with US government and Germans who went and taught the Chinese what solar was. And we missed the bus. Now, we need to look at it at a 360-degree angle and work on supply chain, work on scaling up. And technology upgradation is, of course, the need of the hour. Another challenge I see is skill development, which we also discussed today morning. And yeah, so one question was the technology. I think now with the new plants coming up, all are talking about monoperk. All these module lines are TOPCon compatible. All the new lines coming into India are up to 210 compatible. So nobody is investing into poly lines now. So that is not, from the module perspective, I mean, there's no problem. Now, what is missing? We are able to set up 5 gigawatt, 10 gigawatt module lines, cell lines in India. The next thing is the scale, because with the scale comes ability to invest in automation.
Automation and R&D that
Yes.
Manish said.
You see a lot more automation in China. To give you a perspective, a 1 gigawatt cell line in India would need 250 people to run it, whereas in China it's just 100 people because they all run on AGVs. And with the automation coming in also comes the efficiency. Now, which also means you need that much more funding, you know, from the bank's perspective, from MNRE supporting funding to manufacturers in India, because the scale is different. And if we don't achieve scale, we'll not achieve pricing. So your other question was, apart from technology?
It's on EPC. No, once you manufacture.
So large modules versus small modules. This is, of course, there is going to be a very clear product demand from the rooftop sector, which will not accept, according to me, the 700 watt modules, because they're difficult to get to the roof, difficult to handle. But yes, if you're talking about on-ground projects, there would be, but then we really don't see a great challenge in Indian module manufacturers to move from 550 watt monoperk now to 580 watt TOPCon to 700 watt. All the lines are compatible. It is just the question of changing over and starting to supply those modules. If you talk about cell line, today India has about 5 gigawatt per annum of cell manufacturing, which is again nothing. 5 gigawatt is nothing. We need to get much more. All these lines are compatible to do up to 210 millimeter, in fact, to up to 218 millimeter wafers. So that should not be a problem. But yes, the rooftop segment will ask, even if you look at the US market, they still need the 450 watt, the 500 watt module. They don't want the large format modules.
Oh, that's quite insightful, Mr. Saluja. So moving on from solar to a space where we were at solar maybe 10, 12 years back is on the storage front, you know, where there is action, but there is limited action, and it's likely to grow up. It's likely to grow significantly higher with more renewables getting integrated. So again, looking at a macro perspective, we are generating about 25% of our energy from renewable sources. 10% is from hydel. Another 10% comes from both wind and solar put together. So the second 10%, if it has to go up, because hydel is a traditional one, conventional one, large hydro, etc., and controllable to a large extent. So we need storage in place, be it battery systems or pumped hydro. And we believe, Manish, again, you have, as Jinko, have products around battery-enabled storage systems. Can you throw a little light on what's the experience like in other markets as far as storage evolution is concerned? to give you, my broad perspectives, there are two ways in which US has picked up. One behind the meter, along with rooftop solar, or at a grid level, where the ISOs at the transcos have taken a lead to set it up. Where, or in some instances, where the generators have taken a call because there is a market-linked tariff, so to say, to have storage as part of their projects. So which one, which path do you see India taking up, be it on the distributed side, behind the meter, or will it be more grid controlled or grid tied storage?
Thanks. I think it is interesting to look at these aspects when India is going into a demand of energy storage. We have seen that initially the costs are quite prohibitive in energy storage. And that's why India has seen a mix of pump storage as well as battery storage devices. But what Jinko is doing presently is betting on battery storage devices, primarily to support, C&I installations, residential installations, and we have a product which will also support the grid integration as well, to manage the voltage or frequency, fluctuations and all other things, or peak shaving. But that is a long way to go, I would say, because when there are tenders, at present these are technology agnostic tenders, and because of the high cost of these solutions, there is no taker for this technology at present. But what we have seen when it comes to the industrial segment or C&I segment particularly, there are so many takers of this, for the simple reason that wherever there is a power outage, people have to depend upon diesel generating sets, which is not only polluting, but also very high cost of running. Somebody told me it is around 30 or 35 rupees of running per unit. So compared to that, and looking at the pollution, we are going for net zero everywhere. This is a segment which is now in demand, and we have a product to suit to that, where we are offering up to a 500 kilowatt of a containerized solution, which can be adopted at any location on plug and play mode. And the running cost is approximately 10 to 12 rupees only. So which is almost more than half of what people are seeing in the diesel generating sets. So it is a clean energy because it can be backed by solar or wind or hybrid energies, as well as it is quick to adopt. You don't need to look at, filling up diesel every now and then. So we have got good response from several industries, whether it is cold storage or steel industry, and also for some of the call centers who are having these kind of demands. So we have a product, we are waiting for the right opportunities to launch it. Yesterday I heard that for the EV charging stations across the highways, there is a need for this kind of backup, because they do not want to depend upon fossil fuel based power for EV charging stations. So they need a green power for that. So that also becomes another market segment for us. So I think there are too much demand, I would say, in DG replacement sector rather than grid integration or grid adoption on that sector. For initial 1 or 2 years, I'm sure later when we will see costs coming down, it can compete with other like pump storage or other kind of energy storage things, and it will have its own market in future.
Thanks for that insight. No, in fact, the cost economics seems to be quite compelling compared to DG sets, and diesel price is not likely to come down anytime soon. So, but I also, it's also interesting to see that you're preferring a behind the meter kind of storage applications, and wherein it's more as an energy backup source or energy security for that premises. Heartening to hear that. But just to broaden the conversation, give you a perspective of what's happening on the storage for wider forum. Like I said, a 1,000 megawatt hour tender got concluded in Rajasthan, whose price is not too different from what you said, if you compare it on a per unit basis. But the scale is much larger, and the use cases are a little different there. It could be used for grid balancing, given that Rajasthan has high share of solar. You also touched upon pumped storage tenders as well. Karnataka recently concluded a 1000 megawatt tender for 40 years span where pumped hydro storage participated at about 4 rupees or thereabouts, no, is the levelized cost. And a couple of months back, NTPC did the same, but with a little higher price discovery for a shorter duration storage and shorter duration contract. So while these are happening, again, a question to Vivek is, from a distributed solar perspective, I know I'm going back a little, but with discussion on storage happening, do you think integrating both solar and storage together as a product might fetch better traction? Because the 40 gigawatt that we have targeted, I believe we are close to about 8 or 9 gigawatts of rooftop solar. While some states have incentivized for adoption, some of the states are still figuring out how to adapt. So over to you in terms of how do we make sure we achieve closer to 40 gigawatts of target with storage, or any business models that you have in mind? Yeah.
So when we decided to launch this product or go into this new segment, we had several options to choose from in terms of the battery technology, in terms of the integration, whether we should do fully integrated solution or partially integrated and then integrate or assemble within the place of location. So we looked at all these options and we came about this solution that to be cost competitive in the initial few months or a few quarters, we have to offer fully integrated solution. So now this is manufactured within Jinko facility in China, where we bring best of the technology, best of the products from our supply chain and assemble it, and we offer as a containerized solution. And this can easily be offered on any of the tenders. You mentioned about Rajasthan tender of 1000 megawatt hours. Yes, it can also be offered on that. Only thing is that we have to offer more number of containers. There cannot be a product which can suit to a 1000 megawatt hour as a single product. It has to be like you have central inverters and string inverters case. So this is like a string inverter case where you have so many numbers to match up to that megawatt level. And it is possible because it is the initial stage of this technology. So we should go with the modular approach rather than looking at cutting the cost and making it a single product at one project site, which if goes wrong or goes bad will impact the whole dynamics of the project. So that's what is our thought process. But yes, there are many players who have different approach in this, and they are offering bigger capacities. For example, our biggest capacity is around 1.7 megawatt hour in one container, whereas we have seen other players are offering around 2.5 or 3 megawatt hour also. So it depends what type of tender it is, what type of location it is, and what is the cost you reach with these solutions. But overall, I would say that if you look at the growth of the sector, in future we will see that whether it is plain solar or plain wind or plain hydro, I think there will not be so much takers of that. People are looking at picking best from each of the domain, solar domain, wind domain, and also battery and other domains, and making it a hybrid solution and offering it to the government as well as to the consumers, such that overall there is a demand of this technology as well as there is a cost curve which is on a going side always. So we should look at future now and keep trying these technologies rather than waiting for the price to come down.
That's understandable. No, Vivek, any thoughts from your end, given your focus on distributed generation, distributed solar? Yeah.
Sure. It's like going ahead with the solar space. It's like even though the solar hours is like it's available for 8 to 10 hours, but the peak generation will happen in around some 5 to 6 hours. So what's happening in especially in distributed generation segment is like for C&I customers as well as residential customers, their peak demand will be in the peak hours. Like they demand more power during the morning hours as well as in the evening hours. So they will end up paying more prices to the this discoms. So moving forward, what customers are opting is that they are keeping storage solution as optional, or even few people has adopted this storage solutions. So they will meet their peak demand during the storage options. So this will incentivize, or this will promote storage installations more. And moving forward with this storage as well as with solar technology, we can easily achieve the rooftop target of 40 gigawatt hour.
Thanks for your thoughts. So moving on from, say, distributed solar, or for that matter, solar itself, on the wind front, let me broaden that conversation. Wind, we have seen new entrants coming into India, applying for RLMM scheme, getting certifications. Technology vendors both from China and Europe are vying for the market here. And with more C&I think Mr. Aluja did mention, Manish also mentioned about the C&I market. We see a good intake from wind, for wind generation as well, because it complements solar, and in a way reduces the need for storage, precisely for the problem that you mentioned, Vivek, the peak part of it. So moving on from wind, other topic that we were planning to converse is on hydrogen part. We see quite a lot of hydrogen conversation happening. So there are MOUs being signed with the state governments, pilots being run, starting with 100 kiloton or even lesser 10 kiloton kind of projects, pilots being run. But the more interest seems to be coming from European and East Asian majors. It could be utilities, European utilities who also provide gas or fuel sources apart from electricity. So they seem to be at the forefront in signing agreements with Indian hydrogen manufacturers. Likewise, traders from East Asia, Northeast Asia, or from Singapore, they're also keen to evaluate and get into agreements with Indian developers. Incidentally, it's the renewable companies who have taken a lead here to manufacture that. While the demand comes from overseas, it is also pertinent to note that Indian OMCs are also keen to encourage hydrogen generation. We see a slew of tenders likely to come up to set up electrolyzer in their premises and whatnot. So again, Mr. Saluja, you nicely said about the challenges in manufacturing, or how Indian solar manufacturing is moving ahead now. So maybe do you find some analogies with, say, electrolyzer manufacturing in the country? In the sense, you said you have been in this space since 1995. There are a few more companies who have been in this space, in your peers probably from 90s, and are seeing the huge growth of late. So any suggestions or any learnings that electrolyzer manufacturing as a fraternity that you see here?
Yeah, so as Premier, we are not looking at getting into electrolyzer manufacturing as of now, but the learning which I was always talking about is that India should not miss the bus again for green hydrogen, what mistake was done in solar. We don't need to just look at, getting into PPAs, or, you need to look at the whole supply chain. There has to be, as of now, there's a clear lack of policy. Everybody's talking about green hydrogen, but then how are you going to achieve these targets? What is the intent the government has in terms of electrolyzer manufacturing? Are we going to stop at electrolyzer manufacturing, or are we going to go backward integration? Are we going to again have the same situation which we have in solar, where the market, the supply chain is controlled by one country? We have no choice but to buy all our silicon wafers from there. 98% of wafers are made in China today, right? So we missed the bus in solar. We are trying to catch up now. So my view on this would be that they should look at a clear policy for green hydrogen from manufacturing perspective, deployment perspective, talking to the consumers like the steel industry, the pharma industry, which are large consumers, how they're going to adopt to this. So I think those are the challenges which should be looked at on an overall scenario.
No, good to know that, Mr. Saluja. So in fact, there is a PLI being planned around for close to about 17 odd thousand crores to encourage electrolyzer and fuel cell manufacturing in the country. But your question remains pertinent. No? How much of backward integration can Indian manufacturers do? So yeah, Manish, you have a point.
So I was a part of one R&D conclave at MNRE 2 weeks back, and there was an announcement that out of this allocation of PLI on hydrogen, or there is a substantial chunk which is earmarked, approximately I think 400 or 450 crores for the R&D of this technology within the country. So this is something very innovative that I've seen from government perspective, because government has never given or earmarked any subsidy for the R&D of any sector so far.
Oh, just to add on that note, there is an expression of interest currently available for academic institutions of repute
Yes.
to participate
So-
and set up what they call hydrogen valleys.
Yes. So I know you are also an expert on this, and you have been consulting from your professional roles and responsibility as well. So please add from your perspective also. But what limited knowledge I have got from that conclave, I am trying to share that government has made it a point to offer that kind of a specific chunk of money towards the R&D through the institutions also. But it is a big step. That means India wants to lead in the hydrogen, and they have rightly created a national hydrogen mission for that purpose. There is a team sitting in MNRE or maybe outside to monitor this, and there is a target behind it. And what Mr. Saluja said, that India missed the bus for solar at that right time. Rather, they were ahead of China, but right now it is a time to catch up on that. And this is something new and innovative which India can adopt. And let us not miss the bus this time. And I would request, please you add from your experience some points on hydrogen as well.
No, thanks. So one, you rightly said, R&D is an object of interest. While electrolyzer manufacturing, while it cannot be completely, to be imported, while like Mr. Saluja said, the key for modules, the wafers, close to about 95-98% comes from China. Electrolyzer, we don't need to be so dependent, so to say. A bunch of European companies and US companies, thanks to the fillip given through IRA in US or EU Green Deal, are scaling up their processes. In fact, their order books are also so full. But again, the way probably I see for electrolyzer manufacturing in India to take off is that, again, just like we strip modules into cells, ingots, wafers, and modules. Here, if you see the stack, which is at the heart of, it's like cell in our case, or batteries. It still is heavily IP protected. There are a handful of companies who are able to produce, which can be utilized on the field with consistent performance. So that has to be dependent. But the good part is it's only 35 to maybe 40-45% of value. Then comes the balance of stack, which involve the machinery that are utilized in, say, any industry which deals with fluids, fluid controls, for instance. It could be metering devices, it could be flow controllers, etc. So that we have manufacturing ability in India for a different segment. So that can be ramped up. But again, like Mr. Saluja said, the supply chain has to be incentivized. I know one thing that bothers me, especially in solar, is glass manufacturing. What was needed was the scale, and people were willing to commit. So coming back to this, so you need the balance of stack as well. That commitment on size for existing companies to expand and cater to this new emerging need. And the third crucial component is balance of plant, much like BOS in solar module, solar EPC work. So which involves a bunch of, again, electrical equipment, which India has always produced within our country. So yeah, in a nutshell, the three components, the stack seems to be the toughest one. We have to depend on it, and which is where the R&D is happening across the world. And probably India, not to miss the bus, probably we need to get into that while we continue to import and utilize that. Yeah, Manish.
So I want to add one question here to you. In my earlier part of my career, I was working in refineries, and I've seen hydrogen generation and storage. And it is well-guarded storage area where we store hydrogen because of the reasons of its nature of the gas. So what is your take on the storage and even transportation of hydrogen? Because in future, whatever we do, we generate hydrogen, we have to store it or maybe transport it. So what is your take on that, which is a more driving factor for success of hydrogen in the country?
Good question. So here is other place where there is research going on, be it on composites to store or a blending of hydrogen with natural gas to see that the existing lines can be utilized. So there are two emerging views. Again, in one of my recent interactions, I was told Germany, the natural gas lines which carry are apparently compliant even for hydrogen. Hydrogen, is a corrosive material. Anything that it touches gets corroded very quickly. So apparently they have planned in advance to utilize those lines. But that's one end of the spectrum where which appears little fanciful for me. But in India, for transportation purpose, we need to focus on the blending part of it. IOCL claims that they're able to blend up to 20% in laboratory conditions. So 20% of hydrogen with natural gas, or 2% by weight. But we need to see being rolled it out in a much larger scale. That's on the transportation part. But pure hydrogen transport through pipelines is little challenging because of the material complexities. Blending seems to be the way to go. Or even hydrogen tankers, which we believe, which we have traditionally used for fuel, gas to an extent too, cannot be a probable solution because the density of hydrogen is too low. And if you were to transport as a liquefied one, it has to be in a very small band of temperature, so which is tough to practically see, that happening. So better way instead is to push the electrons to the to the user and convert into hydrogen through electrolysis and use it then and there itself. But extending to your question, other way to transport is through ammonia. Liquefaction of ammonia is a fairly known concept across the world. We have done it in fertilizers, we have done it in refineries all along. So that part is not so challenging. But again, the challenge of late, what we see is there are 5 licensors for ammonia part of value chain, and all of them seems to be overbooked at the moment. So yeah, Manish, in a way, one is that manufacturing of hydrogen is a challenge, and second, transport or transport till the utilization is also a challenge. But again, I see this traction through blending happening, and could be the way to go, or simply get electrolyzers at the user premises and utilize it. So maybe we are on close to about 45 minutes. Maybe I'll leave the floor for some Q&A. Any questions from the audience for us panelists?
Sir, we are very proud of your Mr. Charanjit because he is our representative of Hyderabad as far as the solar is concerned. And the way he's doing it, it's a visionary type of activity. Sir, only one thing, has any activity started in Hyderabad in the field of green hydrogen? Could you update us? What are the plans?
Yeah, so as I said, Premier as such, we have not, still gone into green hydrogen. So I would not be able to, give you more insight on green hydrogen. It's Bhageteja here who's more into that and could, being from, again, PwC in Telangana, maybe you could share some insights.
So green hydrogen per se as use case in Telangana is yet to be established. But there are companies in Hyderabad who are exploring this. We all know about Greenco, a marquee company in energy space. They are fairly advanced compared to other companies in the country in manufacturing hydrogen and ammonia. So, yeah.
Just wanted to know any activities in the transportation segment. We keep on hearing news about green hydrogen being used in transportation also. Anything, any developments in India?
There are a couple of initiatives taken by central government. One to have a fuel cell based electric vehicle from New Delhi to Leh Ladakh. I believe Tata Motors is supplying those buses, but I'm not sure if they've been deployed fully yet. And a similar plan from Delhi towards either Jaipur, Agra. They have plans to do that, but again, I'm not sure what's the status.
Hi, Chiranjeev, I think you spoke about the challenges in the green hydrogen implementation. Of course, it's to be seen. It's a dream if green hydrogen gets implemented. I wanted to know because when we saw the tendering process opening up and the rates for solar coming from 17 rupees per unit to less than 2 rupees per unit, is there anywhere in the world where green hydrogen projects have been implemented successfully and very commercially feasible? And which countries are that where it's been commercially feasible?
Let me try to answer this, Yogesh. So green hydrogen, I mean, that's a holy grail, like everybody says. All over the world, we are probably at close to about $5 a ton. And for comparison, the one that we get it from methane SMR process must be about $1.5. So to have that bridge, one you need is cheaper renewable energy, and only tropical countries like ours, or to an extent Australia or Middle East or MENA region are ideally suited. But even in such places, it's still in experimental phase. Some of the Indian companies have set up pilot projects there, but they're yet to cross that, $1.5 kind of a thing. But other place where I see little more activity is in Canada and North Europe, where we see people utilizing existing hydel power as a renewable source to manufacture green hydrogen. But again, the pricing seems to be yet to meet that grid. I mean, the equivalent of grid parity there at this one. Yeah.
Just to add on the green hydrogen from solar perspective, right? We are seeing tariffs now which went down to almost 2 rupees and have come back to around 260, 270 now. Looking at what's happening in the industry and the huge manufacturing capacity coming up, we are seeing a decline in prices going forward. Huge polysilicon capacities are coming up in China. The whole challenge was polysilicon price volatility, which we saw, and it's really dangerous, the volatility which we see in the solar sector. To give you a perspective, we being cell manufacturers, in December 22, the cost of a one wafer, 182 mm was $1. And on January 10th, it dropped to 52 cents, a 48% drop in 10 days. It never happens in any industry. And then it went back to 82 cents today. So you can understand that how this whole thing is being controlled today by a select player, a select group which does polysilicon. There are very few in this whole world. But huge capacities are coming up. We are seeing the change in the market situation. Prices have started dropping. And my forecast is that in another 6 months to 9 months, you will see prices softening up. And any softening in prices in solar sector will, of course, benefit green hydrogen costs also. On just to come up on the topic of rooftop, 40 gigawatt, I feel the biggest challenge there is for households, we need to work on financing. And financing not from banks, financing from the system integrator. I see that in a company which is doing quite well. There are customers, that is Solar Square. They have brought in a solution where they are giving solar rooftops to households with financing, and they are responsible for the O&M and they are responsible for the funding. It's not from a bank where they just install the system and go away. So I think a huge deployment in rooftop can happen if the integrators start tying up on funding and giving funding to the homeowners to give them that confidence that these systems would work and not just install them and just go away. Another huge challenge which I missed out and we didn't discuss more in detail was skill development. Today, a gigawatt of module manufacturing requires about 1,000 jobs, direct. Indirect is more. So if you're talking about 100 gigawatt, you're looking at close to 100,000 jobs, and then if you add the indirect jobs which will get created, we're looking at 1 million jobs for the manufacturing. Now, this is going to be a big challenge for manufacturing in India because the kind of skill set you require just for installing solar power plants is totally different compared to the skill set you require for manufacturing. So I think the whole solar sector needs to focus on skill development. There a huge value creation for jobs. And what we are also forgetting is role of solar not only in transformation of India, there's a huge potential for export from India, manufactured in India, because people are looking at the clean silicon supply chain. So this is also something which needs to be really put focus on.
Good that you reminded us of that. No, I almost forgot about the skilling part. So again, to give a perspective, we probably are all aware that Apple has moved some of its manufacturing to India, its iPads and iPhone devices. To give you a context, we kind of doubled or tripled our sales in the first 9 months of last financial year compared to what it was. And the expectation is we will again do so in this and the next financial year. But we were catching up with few executives from the manufacturers, the the Taiwanese manufacturers who do that. So one problem that they've found in India, which they were little unaware of when they started, was the kind of rejects for each phone that gets manufactured in India, or 10 times of what they have seen in China. So, and they say it's simply an account of lack of adequate training, lack of not just on the labor who are on that, but also on the processes part of it, the importance of processes. So that definitely is a challenge, and unless we ramp up the skilling capacity, the throughput is likely to go for a toss. And here again, especially in solar, we are being measured against some of the bigger names, and it's not a geopolitical choice, it's a commercial reason why we are doing it in India, and definitely that's the need of the hour. So any more questions from the audience? Yeah.
Sorry for this. So my question is on module manufacturing. So currently China alone has a capacity which can cater to the world. In fact, more than that. Then with the PLI benefit, India is also coming up with at least 40 to 45 gigawatt in the next 2-3 years. Same is with US, with IRA, they will be coming up around 50 to 60 gigawatt, which is at the announced capacity. So will this really benefit the global requirement of the modules? Like there will be there will be reduction in the prices, or we will be end up having the more capacity, over capacity?
So talking about price, let me tell you, module manufacturing has become like a commodity sector now. So the price, again, as I told you, is controlled by the polysilicon manufacturers, right? It all trickles down from there. Talking about capacity, even though this huge capacity is coming up in India, 40-50 is a small number. I would say India would have 100 gigawatt of capacity very soon, irrespective of 120 gigawatt is the number actually. The demand is also increasing in a very big way. So we still see that the demand is going up multifold, so is the manufacturing. And a lot of manufacturing, which we're talking about in India and China, knock off 20% of that because that would be polysilicon, which will phase out. Then knock off monoperc, which is going to be phased out. It's all moving to TOPCon. So these capacities would be on the theoretical plate, but actual capacity will be a little lower. So I don't see any threat in terms of overcapacity in module manufacturing, because the demand is going to be huge, and if we don't scale up, we will not be able to achieve better pricing in India. So that's my view on the manufacturing.
My 2 cents here. So one, probably what you're looking at is, a standalone installations that have happened last year or the last 2-3 years, and continue to. We are probably projecting from there. What might happen in India. We have 50 gigawatts of renewables this year, etc. But what goes unsaid and what is latent is the whole electrification of energy. Say for instance, earlier heating used to be from fossil sources. So could be coal, could be diesel, could be any of the natural gas, etc. But all such say heating applications, or even within a building, for instance, if you want to, in Europe especially, you have heaters, etc. So they're all likely to be electrified. So what we call this as a latent demand for electricity is likely to increase. One. And what goes along with that is, the whole unfortunate event of Ukraine crisis has opened up everybody to avoid over-dependence on fossil fuels from other countries. So energy security, in a nutshell, is likely to cause more people to transition towards renewables, be it solar or wind. And solar is a little more easier one to install. It can be modular. You need not depend on fairly large turbines offshore or onshore. So there will be uptake of it, a significant one. And where I take comfort is, again, what has happened in Europe last year in terms of solar installations. They've jumped up almost 1.5x of the previous year. So the point, to answer your question, we need not worry about the excess capacity getting built up. Like Mr. Saluja said, polysilicon is the key. More it gets added across the world, better it is for price stability, and definitely there will be an uptake of it.
Just want to add one point here. See, you talked about, capacity, which is access because of, various countries are adopting manufacturing within their own regions rather than importing from one particular place. The way all the countries are racing towards net zero targets, initially developed countries and then followed by developing countries like India, I don't see there is an excess of capacity in solar, because the way we have to adopt to net zero very, very soon, everybody has to go for renewable technologies, and solar will play a major role in that. So every country which is having a program for manufacturing, they have to protect that program such that the installations are available in that country itself, and then you do not have to compete with other parts of the world because you are protected within your environment. And what Mr. Saluja mentioned about the supply chain and ancillary setup, if India can also have a policy of that, then I think we don't need to look at anywhere else. So there will not be any excess, because any country which is coming up with a program has a goal, and that's why we are coming up with such schemes.
Yeah, thank you. So I have one more question.
Sure.
Currently, India is seeing short-term opportunity in US because of anti-China sentiment. But I was just reading somewhere like US is thinking not to procure from India also, because they have to motivate, or they have to promote their domestic manufacturing also. So any thought on this? And second, like US IRA, they have benefit for the every component in the supply chain, whereas in India PLI is mostly on the cell and module and polysilicon side. We have other BOS items also.
I think US is doing exactly what I was telling you, that you need to have the entire supply chain. And if you look talking about short-term demand in the US, I don't think it's short-term, because again, the biggest challenge in US is very difficult to get people to work for you 24/7. You're talking about whatever automation you do. If you're looking at module manufacturing, I think, Manish, if you can add in more on the Jinko facility in the US, the kind of challenges Jinko would have faced, because these lines have to work 24/7. We can't shut them down. and to get people in the US to work for you, 300 to 400 jobs per gigawatt, even with automation in module manufacturing in the US, is a great challenge. Then again, even though the IRA has come up and they're talking about huge manufacturing, what I see is that you'll find more of module manufacturing coming in the US to start with. Cell, wafer, and polysilicon will take time. The most difficult part in the entire solar chain is polysilicon and cell manufacturing. It's not easy to do cell manufacturing because cell manufacturing is a process-oriented, facility, and you're dealing with hazardous gases, hazardous chemicals. Very difficult to get clearances in the US, environmental clearances to set up large cell manufacturing plants there. So there is a huge opportunity going forward for Indian manufacturers to sell to the US. It is going to last not for short term, but I would say it would last for the next 5 to 7 years, because it's not going to be so easy for US to set up manufacturing, because they've not been used to manufacturing in the US. If you look at what is happening in the US in the last decade, you don't have people who would come and work in a manufacturing facility. That's a big challenge they have. You would like to add something on? Yeah. Does that answer your question, or did I miss out something?
No, it was very insightful. Thank you.
Hello? Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah,
Last
hi.
question, please. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is Raj. There was an announcement during this last budget that there's going to be a kind of VGF for 4,000 megawatt hours of storage. So I wanted to understand from the panel two parts. One, maybe you can give, Reddy, you can give an insight as to what is, when the details are going to be out, as to how it is going to be. I also wanted to hear from Chiranjeev and Nirula as to, does that prompt you guys to think about battery manufacturing, or is it too little a scale for going ahead?
Hello.
So I think the VGF, the way I have understood it, is predominantly for procurement of storage by utilities. I think that's where it is likely to be earmarked. And if my suspicion is right, then it is linked to the 1 gigawatt hour tender we spoke about earlier in our conversation in Rajasthan. The end users are likely to get some support from the government of India. But again, while it doesn't directly goes to the manufacturer's kitty, what it does is, there's a fairly large opportunity of 1 gigawatt hour, probably the largest one-time tender that has anywhere happened across the world. So that fires up imagination of manufacturers to set up in India or start assembling in India to start with. So that's how probably that benefited.
On the manufacturing question, at Premier as such, our focus is more driven towards solar. We are not looking at battery as of now. We have been the early entrants into cell manufacturing in 2020. We now are putting all our efforts to get into wafer manufacturing. So we want to go to the downward stream, backward integration, and be a manufacturer which can give clean silicon supply to India and to the US market. Of course, we have our challenges because in India, when you are into the manufacturing sector, and like Premier, we are partially owned by a US-based private equity fund. We have our own challenges of the ESG focus on forced labor rules, in India. So these all, add to our costs of manufacturing, but then they also add to the value of the product which we give. And there are buyers who are ready to pay for such manufacturing facilities. So we don't have any plans to get into battery manufacturing. We're going to put all our money on backward integration. So at Premier, we are looking at setting up a 2 gigawatt wafer manufacturing in the next 18 months. There again, we have challenges because all the technology would come from China. You again need to go to China for the equipment, and there again we see a lot of different perspectives coming from China, that do they want to part with the technology or no. So yeah, we are going to work on these challenges and try to set up wafer manufacturing.
Just a last comment on this. as Mr. Reddy mentioned, the VGF is not for manufacturing, so that will not help much to, attract, investments into manufacturing. But presently, what India is seeing in terms of battery, manufacturing or utilization in the country, as far as I understand, 80% is towards EV, and 20% is towards the stationary storage that we have in solar or wind, as a backup we talk about. So unless that segment reaches to its cost competitiveness, which is 80% chunk of the India, EV segment, this side of storage, which is 20%, will take time to reach cost competitiveness. So the players who are into those kind of EV battery manufacturing will take lead and then develop that infrastructure and supply chain to help this side of the story to evolve very, very soon.
So with that, I think we take leave. Thanks again, Amit and Informa team for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your views towards sustainable environment, towards net zero. May I please call upon Mr. Yogesh Mudras to hand over a token from our side. Mr. Bhagatej Reddy. Mr. Chiranjeev Saluja. Mr. Manish Narula. Mr. Vivek Ganapati.